इसका थोड़ा सा ना आवाज कम करोगे तो चलेगा। अच्छा अब इसको क्रॉस कर दो, नहीं तो ये
इसकी मैंने आवाज बंद की हुई है।
नहीं नहीं, इसको क्रॉस कर दो, इसकी जरूरत नहीं। बस क्रॉस कर। अब ये वाला यहाँ पर ऐड, ठीक है।
ठीक। नहीं नहीं
ये हो
अच्छा हेलो
ये तो आई थिंक दिस इज फाइन हाँ
मैं इसको हेलो
इस पे तो साउंड का इशू नहीं हो रहा वैसे। वैसे मेरा ख्याल है मैंने अभी अनम्यूट किया, अभी तो नहीं हो रहा। आपने लीव कर दी है?
मैंने नहीं अभी तक लीव नहीं
आप अनम्यूट।
हेलो माइक टेस्ट बोल के
हेलो माइक टेस्ट। मेरी तो आवाज ही नहीं आ रही।
हाँ ये क्या है?
ये क्या है? हेलो हेलो,
नहीं आवाज से आ
आ
रही
रही है? अच्छा
आवाज से आ
ठीक
रही
है।
अच्छा वो लगी हुआ है आई थिंक।
ये तो
मुझे आ रही है।
तो यहाँ आनी तो चाहिए।
आपने शायद आपने स्पीकर ऑफ किया होंगे ना?
मैं अपना जो है ना
हाँ,
लीव
वैसे
हाँ हाँ हाँ, अब ठीक
यहाँ
है।
पे हाँ, आप करें।
हेलो, नहीं
हाँ ये
आवाज नहीं आ रही।
ठीक बुलवा रही
मुझे
है।
अपनी आवाज नहीं आ रही।
बोले
मुझे आ रही है।
आपको भले आ रही है, हमें भी तो सुनाई देनी चाहिए।
हाँ
हाँ वही ना।
आई थिंक दिस इज द इशू कि वो वहां से नहीं हो रहा तो वो कुछ मैं एक मिनट इसके साथ को बुलाना।
हेलो माइक टेस्ट।
माइक्रोफोन ही है लेकिन उनको है, उनको आती है आवाज उस पे। अगर वो
पार्टिसिपेंट्स को
माइक्रोफोन
स्पीकर
पे
में
या उस
नहीं
पे
आ
सुन रहे हैं
रही।
उनको आ रही
ये
है।
वेबकैम अगर आप यूज में करें कम तो लगा दें क्योंकि इसकी क्वालिटी भी थोड़ी अच्छी है।
स्पीकर्स
नहीं।
ठीक है भले लगाएं, लेकिन बाद में मैं
इशू तो नहीं
निकाल के ले
हाँ।
जाऊंगा।
सर ये बस कल आप आखिरी टाइम पे निकाल के ले जाइए।
नहीं कल नहीं आज ही, मेरा शाम का एक सेशन है, मुझे चाहिए तो मैं ले जाऊंगा। अभी मैं आपको दे रहा हूँ।
रैंक पे बेस करना।
यहाँ लगे कि हम दोनों नजर आए ना। अब
साथी कह रहे मैं स्टैंड मंगवा देता हूँ तो एक
एक-
टाइम लगाएंगे तो
एक यहाँ नजर आ रहा है, फिर कहें कि अब थोड़ा सा
हाँ।
वेट करें, वो आ रहा है, फिर
हाँ।
आप कहें तो उससे बेहतर है कि
उससे बेहतर है।
ठीक है। हेलो माइक चेक। नहीं चाहिए सर। हाँ, कर लीजिए। उनके फासर से आवाज नहीं आ रही।
मेरे उससे आ रही थी।
उनकी से आ रही थी, इधर इनकी नहीं आ रही है।
वैसा आप बोल गया आप इसमें एंटर होंगे तो लेफ्ट साइड पे आपके बाएं हाथ पे अगर आप देखें जो बड़ी लाइट
इससे आवाज नहीं आ रही है उसमें से।
उसके नीचे
कैसे जा रही है आवाज?
आप देखें तो
उनकी आवाज स्पीकर में नहीं आ रही है। तो देख दूसरे एंड पे, दूसरे एंड पे स्पीकर।
बोले
क्लास में जा रहे हैं हमने भी एक बार
कोई मजा में नहीं जरूरी।
ठीक है
इधर चल रही है उनकी आवाज
ट्राई
नहीं आ
कर
रही।
वो चीज आती है तो टेस्टिंग
अब
इसलिए मैं क्या चीजें आ जाए तो फिर हो जाता
अब हम टाइम अच्छा और आपकी क्लास तो नहीं है यहाँ पर?
ना सर
हेलो?
क्लास नहीं है।
हेलो
अच्छा
बॉस के पास आए हैं
हेलो अच्छा अच्छा, नहीं वो तो दूसरा माइक होगा तो फिर आएंगे ना, उसका माइक नहीं। इस देखना उन सर फास्ट साइड से चेक करना, इनकी आवाज आ रही है क्योंकि यहाँ पे तो माइक दूसरा रनी वाला होगा ना, तो फिर इसकी आवाज आएगी ना, फिर माइक तो नहीं यूज करें ना, फास्ट साइड से आवाज आ रही है वो चेक करना। हमारी अपनी आवाज जो है ना वो सर स्पीकर्स में नहीं जाएगी,
अच्छा
क्योंकि हमारा माइक ही है, ठीक है ना।
पार्टिसिपेंट्स की
हाँ।
आवाज आएगी, हमें ये भी चेक
जी
करना है।
पार्टिसिपेंट्स की
अब
बात
मसला ये है कि
Participant
मैम जो
जब ये
बोल
बात
रही है
कर रहे थे
वो खुद सुन नहीं रही है, और
जो
मैं भी नहीं सुन रहा हूँ क्योंकि मैं भी तो नहीं हूँ सिस्टम, तो मैं कैसे सुनूँ?
आपका फाइन है, आप बोलेंगी
मुझे कोई
यू
सुनने नहीं आया।
आपको ऑडियंस या उनकी आएगी आवाज, आप जो बोलते हैं आपकी आपको वापस आ रही है, आप जो बोलते हैं ना आप
साथ आप जाओ
आपको
ना,
भी उनकी
बाहर
आनी
जाओ।
चाहिए, आपको अपनी नहीं आनी चाहिए मेरे ख्याल से।
जब दो सिस्टम ऑन करते हैं
हाँ,
तभी
yes,
इशू हो रहा है ना,
yes, yes.
सर के साथ मेरे साथ।
हेलो सर, आप बोलो बाहर जाके। मैं तो यूट्यूब पे देख
वो एफएम वाले वो देखें, आप बोल रहे हैं ना, तो आप औरों को सुनेंगे, आपको अपनी वो ना आए। ये यहाँ से बोलते थे ना, तो इनको अपनी आवाज यहाँ से सुनाई देगी, हम ये देख रहे थे कि उनकी नहीं आ
नहीं
रही।
नहीं, वो तो इस वजह से कि हाँ
राइट राइट,
सही है, कोई इशू नहीं है,
कोई
सर
issue
आप में
नहीं,
कोई इशू
right.
नहीं है सर,
लेकिन-
आप कंटिन्यू करें। मैडम आप लोग समझ रहे हैं बात,
जी जी ठीक है।
आपका जो माइक है ये वाला है, इस माइक से फार साइड पे उनका आवाज जा रही
ठीक
है,
है।
वो बोलेंगे उनकी स्पीकर्स में आ रही
उनकी स्पीकर्स में आएगी,
ठीक
तो
है।
इस तरह इनका थोड़ा सा इशू आ रहा है इसमें।
है, इसलिए हाँ ठीक है, पार्टिसिपेंट है ज्वाइन ये स्पीकर करने वाला।
तो मैं अगर उनको
हाँ,
एज अ
हाँ,
होस्ट को, वो भी होता है ना वो जो
नहीं नहीं, इधर के सिस्टम तो अलग ही है।
हाँ, वो कह रहे
ठीक
थे
है, हाँ।
पार्टिसिपेंट, तो फिर वो
ठीक है सर।
ठीक है
ठीक है,
ठीक है, थैंक
वो
यू।
है।
यानी एक से
ठीक है, ये हमारी आवाज-
ऐसा
फ्रेंड पे ना लाइव स्ट्रीमिंग देखा
इजाजत।
अच्छा
ठीक
साहब, ये जूम पे है ना, ये रिकॉर्ड है, वो यूट्यूब पे जूम पे ऑन करना ताकि हमें पार साइड से अंदर आऊंगा, वो तो फिर वो
हेलो। Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Can you please confirm if we are audible or not? Please type in the chat box if we're audible. Yes, okay. Okay, so Assalamu alaikum once again and welcome everybody to this session. I will like to start with a very brief introduction of myself and the session chair, Dr. Mumtaz, and then we're going to start. I will just lay out some of the basic rules and timings, and then we're going to start with the first presenter. So my name is Dilap Kyani. I am going to be the moderator for this session. I am a lecturer at NAST Business School. The session chair with me is Dr. Mumtaz Ali Maiman. Just a brief introduction about himself. Dr. Mumtaz is an associate professor at NAST Business School. He's also the editor-in-chief of NAST Business Review and managing editor of Journal of Applied Structural Equation Modeling. He is also the guest editor of many other journals. He completed his PhD from University Technology Petronas in 2017 and has been teaching at different institutions before joining NAST Business School. Just to kind of refresh regarding the timings, each presenter is going to get 20 minutes. However, 15 minutes are for the presentation and the last 5 minutes are for question and answer session. I will let you guys know after 10 minutes. When 10 minutes are over, I will give you a 10-minute mark and you will have to wrap your presentation up by 15 minutes so that we have enough time for question and answer in the next 5 minutes. Okay. So I think we can start with the first presenter since she is present here. The first paper that we're going to be starting off with is using motivating language for fostering employee well-being through work engagement during COVID-19 pandemic. The presenter is going to be Sarah Sabir. Sarah, whenever you're ready, you can share your presentation on the screen and you're good to go. Is Sarah here?
Yes, I'm here, but there is some issue with my internet. I'm unable to share my presentation. Is it possible that you can share the presentation from your end, the one that I've already sent you before? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. I am just opening up your presentation. Just give me a minute.
Okay, thank you so much.
I have to share the presentation. Can you see it on the screen now?
Well, I think screen is about to share. I'm just waiting for the signal.
Okay. I've shared it from my end. Please let me know whenever it's visible at your end too.
Yes, it's visible now.
You can start now. It's
may I start the presentation?
It's 10:34. You have 15 minutes for the presentation itself, and then we're going to have question answer for the last 5 minutes.
Okay, sure. So let me give a brief introduction of myself. I'm Sarah Umer, or I'm the Multan campus of National University of Indian Language, and I'm a lecturer in the Department of Management Science. So what I'm going to present in the conference, leader can use motivating they can foster well-being among their employees, especially during COVID-19 pandemic. Is very nowadays, since we know that we are suffering from this issue since like around 2 years, and it has become very difficult for the organizations to cope up with the stress that employees are having, both the mental stress and the physical stress due to this health crisis, because there are certain stressful issues at the workplace, like there are lesser rest period for the employees have longer working hours, they have increased workload, and even there is a of catching the virus and passing on that to their family and others. So all these factors, and there are many others as well, which pose a threatening situation for the employees in terms of their work engagement and well-being. And of course, this is a challenge for the organizations, which has to be taken up by the leader itself, because leader is the one who exists most, how things are to run, what should be done, are done. So it is primarily the leader who is going to make different attitudes through maybe their leadership style, maybe their traits, maybe their behavior. But the focus of this presentation is going to be the communication of the leader, which I believe is very important, is very critical in this time of uncertainty. Since as more and more open communication exists between a leader and an employee, two-way dialogue, maybe that is going to boost their working relationship. So this way, a healthy environment, a healthy work environment can be created, and that is definitely positively going to impact the behavior and the attitudes of the employees. And especially if the leader is able to communicate in a very empathetic way, in which the employees feel that the leader feels for them, he is concerned with them, obviously their engagement, their workplace engagement is boosted, and that has an impact on their well-being as well. So I'm going to use the theory which is given by Sullivan, which is the motivating language theory, to in the support of my concept. And let me give you a brief review of what this theory actually about. So when we talk of leadership communication, motivating language theory is very widely used. It is accepted, it is tested in various organizational contexts as well. It is a kind of framework which explains the everyday communication of the leader with the employees with the purpose to motivate them. It is the dyadic communication between the leader and the follower. So according to the motivating language theory, this leader talk can be divided into three dimensions. A leader may use meaning-making language, may use empathetic language, may use direction-giving language, or he may also use a combination of these three. In fact, according to the theory, a combination, strategic combination of these dimensions of motivating language gives you the optimal results. So what direction given language is, it is related to the talk which is done by the leader when he presents the work related information about the tasks, and this way he reduces the uncertainty or ambiguities in the work processes. This boosts the confidence of the employee, and they feel belongingness with the organization, that increases employee engagement, and which is supposedly going to increase their well-being as well. Secondly, empathetic language. Empathetic language is again an oral communication style in which the leader shows that he is genuinely supporting his followers, he cares for their well-being, for their emotional well-being. The interpersonal relationship is developed. Even with this style of language, employees feel that they work in a psychologically safe environment, and that can also lead to better work. Is used by the leaders to articulate the vision of the organization. The leader attaches a meaning to words, so they feel that they are valued and and the overall motivating language. We have developed the questions over here on this research, which are in front of you. You can see the research model as well. First one is, does motivating language of leaders affect the work engagement and well-being? Secondly, does or how work engagement mediate leaders' motivating language and the employee well-being? And thirdly, does nurses has an impact on the workplace well-being? Now I'm saying nurses over here because since we are talking about COVID-19 pandemic, so the population or the sample for our research is nurses, because they were the ones who were in the most crucial stages in workplaces. So as you can see the research model in front of you, you can see the independent variable is motivating language, as I just explained, direction, empathetic language, and the meaning making language. The mediator of our research model is work engagement, and the dependent variable is well-being. So accordingly, we have worked to develop 4 hypotheses for the research model. The first hypothesis is a relationship, positive relationship, in fact, between leader motivating language and work engagement. The second hypothesis with language and employee well-being. First is that work is likely to mediate the relationship between and last hypothesis terms of their ages. So, how are we going to answer these questions? How are we going to test this hypothesis? Now I'm going to discuss in the research material. So, as you can see, this is a totally descriptive study, a quantitative research. The population is nurses who are working in the hospitals with COVID wards. The is being taken from hospitals in the Punjab area and Delhi. So it's made about like 200 courses. Uh,
Sarah, are you still there? We cannot hear you.
study about.
Sarah, can you please confirm if you're still there or not, because we cannot hear you at all. Sarah, I'm not sure if you are still present or not, but your 10 minutes are over. You have 5 minutes left. If you can wrap your presentation up, or if you can get back in that time, that would be great.
survey instrument that it is told that for the language was developed and we were engaged and this was 9 items unit. Now, can you hear me?
Yes, but your voice is breaking a lot, so it's not good.
Okay.
Okay. If you would prefer, we can just proceed to the question and answer session. And if session chair, if he has any suggestions, he would like to give them to you right now, if that's okay with you. Sarah, I cannot understand what you're saying at all because your voice is breaking a lot. Okay, I think we will stop this here and we can just proceed to the question and answer session. Or if anybody has any questions or suggestions, the floor is open for that. Okay, if there are no other questions or suggestions, we'd just like to take some suggestions from the session chair, Dr. Mumtaz.
अनशेयर इसको कर दीजिएगा वीडियो. जी सारा, thank you so much. It was very interesting topic. I really enjoyed. लेकिन वो इस इंटरनेट कनेक्टिविटी की वजह से सारा कोई इशू नहीं है. हम बस आपको कुछ सजेशंस देना चाहते हैं, तो प्लीज if you don't mind, we just proceed to the Q&A. So one of my suggestions is आपने theory use की है MLT. I would suggest कि आप वो, क्योंकि एक part को focus कर रही है just on the language side. So if you can use JDR theory. JDR theory is completely explaining your model. So you can take ML as your one of the resources, and then it leads to engagement and then well-being. So JDR completely explains your model. So maybe it can help you in publishing in a good journal, number one. And number two, when we are talking about the age differences, I assume that you are using multi-group analysis because there are some different groups and you want to check that different groups have the different opinion about your main variables. So I think multi-group analysis, I would recommend you to consider rather than one-way ANOVA or correlation analysis. That is basically not, does not match with your objective of your study. And then I also would like to recommend you are using Barron and Kenny approach. Barron and Kenny approach is currently obsolete approach. People are, especially the theoretical, the methodologists are suggesting that the Barron and Kenny approach is not recommended for such kind of model. So I would recommend you to check Preacher and Hayes approach. And
okay.
Where you just focus on indirect effect rather than four-step approach, because one of these stage is insignificant, then you will consider it no mediation. So rather than
Right.
Sarah, please mute your so we can. Sarah, then I can notice that you are using correlation analysis. You are using correlation analysis.
Okay.
In my opinion, correlation analysis are better. You use regression analysis if you want to use SPSS, but in my opinion, for publication side, you use structural equation modeling, which is strongly recommended. And the recent developments also suggest that such kind of models where you are using mediation analysis, they are using so many paths in your model, then structural equation modeling is strongly recommended. So these are my humble suggestions. Of course, you are the researcher and you have to decide and you have to see whether it suits to your research objectives. But in my opinion, if you do so and if you follow these suggestions, I'm sure you can easily publish to in a good journal. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much for your recommendations. I'm surely going to check them out and implement in my manuscript.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mumtaz, and thank you so much, Sarah, for an interesting presentation. We would like to move ahead towards the second presenter now. The second topic, the research that is going to be presented on is factors associated with psychological well-being in bank employees of Pakistan, a PRISMA systematic review. The presenter is Safia Rashid. Safia, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and start your presentation.
Okay, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum. Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. We'd like you to share your slides or presentation on screen. Could you please do that?
Okay, yes. Is it visible?
Yes, it is. You can start now.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Safia Rashid and I am PhD scholar in IUB, Islamic University, Bahawalpur. And I am assistant professor in Mumtazabad College, Multan. And today my topic of my presentation is factor associated with psychological well-being in bank employees of Pakistan, a PRISMA systematic review. First of all, introduction and background. Psychological well-being is defined as a relevant reflection of one's current personal functioning level and the ability to realize one's potential, which is subjectively expressed in satisfaction with oneself and life in general. According to Ruff's theory, there is a varied model of psychological well-being, including 6 factors, and these factors are purpose in life, autonomy, environmental mastery, personal growth, positive relations with other, and self-acceptance. And the theoretical theoretical perspective of this research is that following the framework of the Ruff's theory is that theory suggests that relationship with the others can be important in increasing human well-being. And similarly, self-determination theory and intimacy theory that also indicate the relationship with others can predict flourishing and psychological well-being. And according to self-determination theory presented by Desai and Ryan, 2002, satisfaction of psychological needs of autonomy, competence, and relatedness is important to predict well-being. So the rationale of the study is in Pakistan, there is many commercial and private banks, and unfortunately, there is a lack of organizational research about the employees' well-being. Well-being related to psychological variables in new and top new generation banks involved in commercial and financial services. A systematic literature review that can provide an overview of banking related studies. So in Pakistan, in our local culture, found that the working environment has positive impact on employee productivity in banks. And job stress reduced job performance of bank employees. And in another study, it is found that stress predict burnout, and changing in the work pattern creates stress in bankers. And by addressing the gap, the psychological well-being is not studied in this perspective, and the employee's psychological well-being is needed to be studied in banks. And next is research questions, and the research question in that study is the exploration of Pakistani literature about the potential factors and the psychological triggers of the psychological well-being in banking employees. Next is the methodology, and methodology design chosen was the systematic review from the data sources, and in a review method by using the latest procedure preferred reporting items for the systematic review and the meta-analysis PRISMA 2020 guidelines were followed. And there is some inclusion criteria, and that inclusion criteria is studies that are published from 2012 to 2021. And second criteria is written in English. All the articles are written in English and not any review article, and then published full text scholarly articles. All the studies are cross-sectional studies, and the factors related to the psychological well-being in banking employees, particularly in banking employees. And the keywords searched on the 3 databases, and these databases are ScienceDirect, Google Scholar, PubMed, and ResearchGate, 4 databases. And the age range of the population, that is between 25 to 24 years, 45 years, 25 to 45 years of the population. And the overall result is the process of the PRISMA flow chart. This flow diagram of the paper selection process used in the present study was that firstly the identification phase. Identification of the records that are identified through the databases are total are n is equal to 264, in which the Google Scholar has 128 and ResearchGate is 65, and the number of articles included from ScienceDirect is 37 and PubMed 34. So after duplicates are removed, the N is 116, and then the second phase is screening of the papers, and in that phase paper include considering inclusion criteria. So that inclusion criteria that I have previously described. So the total N is equal to 129, and then the eligibility criteria, that is full text article, was assessed for the eligibility N19, and papers excluded that have abstract only on 7 and no response from the author. So those article includes that have full article, full paper, not only the abstract. And then included studies were 10 studies included in this qualitative synthesis was 10. And the second, the table shows, this table shows results from the literature review on the factors affecting the employees' psychological well-being. So these are the factors deducted from these studies, and this can be divided, these factors can be divided into 4 major categories or 4 major factors in which there are certain constructs, that personal factors involving self-efficacy, spirituality, and work engagement, and number 4 is work-life balance. And the second factor is related to psychological factors, and these are the stress-related presentism. And second is psychological climate, and next is intrinsic motivation, and next is psychological ownership. And the third category, or the third factors, social factors. Social factors include social undermining and stress, and satisfaction with co-workers. And the last one is risk factors. And these risk factors are related to the toxic leaderships, legitimate tasks, and over workload, job demands, and abusive supervision on subordinates. And last one is turnover intention. So these articles suggest that these are the constructs and factors related to the well-being of the banking employees particularly. And then the implications and the limitations of the study of number one is on the basis of the reviewed studies, it is recommended for the future that to improve the employee psychological well-being, the role of the associated factors should not be neglected by the policymakers. And longitudinal studies should be conducted in the organization to examine the association with the other variables such as personality traits. And last one is the managerial implication, provided better system to enhance the workplace well-being to in the banking sector employees. And the conclusion, last slide is conclusion. As a conclusion, the psychological well-being is associated with many factors that are personal, psychological, social, and risk factors. So these factors may include self-efficacy, spirituality, work engagement, work-life balance, stress, psychological climate, intrinsic motivation, psychological ownership, satisfaction with others, and toxic leaderships. So these are the total sum up conclusion of the all the review that we have found these factors in Pakistani bank employees related to the psychological well-being. That's all from me.
Thank you, Safia, for your presentation and time. The floor is open for questions. If the participants have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to ask that. Okay, I believe there are no questions from the participants. I'd like the session chair to present some of his comments on the research.
Safia, बहुत अच्छी presentation थी, and topic is very interesting. And since you are doing systematic literature review, so I believe it is worth doing, and it will help the future researchers to follow your recommendation. So one thing I noticed that the future recommendations are missing, except you are talking about longitudinal studies. That is very common, but how about the other factors? What other factors they should look for? What other aspects, what other segments they should target, even in the banking sector? Number one, I think for publication it's very important. And secondly, what theories have been used so far, and what are the theories they must use in future? That is also missing, because I believe a systematic literature review is not about the factors, the dimensions only, but it extends the knowledge from several aspects, including the methods, including the theoretical aspects, including the context. So I think so many things, if possible, you can consider, then it can, the paper can be considered for publication in top journals. Another thing I noticed that you are doing a systematic literature review from 2012 to 2021. I don't know what's the reason. But again, I feel maybe you have any justification for that. But in my opinion, if it's only for 10 years, then there must be a solid justification. What was the reasons? And then another thing you have to keep in mind, that why readers should be interested in a banking sector of Pakistan when they go for the literature review and literature, especially the systematic literature review. What's so special about Pakistani banking industry they must want to know? And so this is the question that may editor, for example, being an editor, if I have this paper, then I must refer back to you and ask you why I need to consider this paper for my readership. And then again, you at the earlier stage, you talk about the STD, the theory you used. I don't know how you implement the theory in your systematic literature review. I was assuming that when you present your findings, there must be several theoretical aspects that you will discuss related to STD, but it was missing. Of course, it's okay for the conference presentation is okay. My comments are related to your future publication. So I hope it will help you. Another, my suggestion is you are focusing on Science Direct, you are focusing on ResearchGate, you are focusing on Google Scholar. So very honest, if I see Google Scholar, so it means Google Scholar has everything from Science Direct, from Emerald, from ResearchGate, everything is on Google Scholar. So you don't need to go several other databases. But is there any other systematic literature review in your area? They have this similar methodology. They are focusing on Google Scholar. I don't think so. People usually go for the databases like Scopus, like SSCI database, like so many other databases that you can use. But I think using ResearchGate, using Google Scholar may limit your publication scope of your systematic literature review. So in my opinion, if you can reconsider and you try to pitch your systematic literature review in a way that you considered the good databases that are really popular all over the world, that will help you in publishing your article in a very good journal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Montas, for your insightful comments. We would just like to move on to the third paper of the session. The topic of the paper is alleviating occupational stress through psychological capital, intervention, group counseling. The presenter is Waqas Khalid. Sir, if you're present, you can just start sharing your screen and start the presentation. Waqas Khalid, sir, are you here? I can see your name in the participants, but I'm not sure if you can hear us or not.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Would you please share your screen with us so that everybody can see the presentation?
Yes, with you.
We can hear you, but there is a lot of distortion in your voice. Is there any way that you can minimize that, please? I can see the slides, yes.
Shall we start?
Yes, you can.
Right, I am Waqas Khalid, presenting a case on alleviating occupational stress through psychological capital interventions, group counseling. I am a PhD scholar at the Institute of Professional Psychology at Mary University campus. Coming over to the abstract.
Vikas, are you there? Because we cannot hear you at all and we can't see your slides anymore either.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're audible, but your screen is not visible anymore. Could you please share your slides again?
Okay, coming back to the abstract now. I think it's true now. Let's coming back to introduction and background. Occupational stress has been posing threat to individuals' well-being, organizational performance, and national productivity for many years. The magnitude of stress effects has multiplied over time, along with increasing complexity in jobs. However, research related to stress has paid little or no attention to make out factors that would act as buffers against occupational stress. In this context, medicine field is relatively challenging since employees have to undergo long and irregular working hours under intense pressures, which in turn leads to occupational stress. Psychological factor results in low stress symptoms. Psychological factor has been defined by Luther Jusov and a value as a state of development and is characterized by having confidence that is self-efficacy to take on and put in the necessary efforts to succeed at challenging tasks, making a positive attribution that is optimism about succeeding now and in the future, and preserving towards goal and when necessary, redirecting the pathways to goals, that is hope, in order to succeed, and when beset by problems and adversity, sustaining and bouncing back and even beyond, which is resilience. The stress scale developed by Novibod and Novibod is sensitive to levels of chronic non-specific arousals. It assesses difficulty in relaxing, nervous arousal, and being easily upset, agitated, irritable, overreactive, and impatient. Coming over to theoretical framework, it was hypothesized that those doctors who are having high occupational stress, once administered psychological interventions, were likely to have reduced occupational stress. The rationale of the study was that a number of factors are aligned with work stress, including heavy workload, job insecurity, competition, manager bullying, as well as technological change. Of these, workload and extended work hours that diminish job satisfaction in the medical profession are considered to be major cause of work stress. According to Lazarus, the four dimensions of psychology factors, that is hope, efficacy, resilience, and optimism, facilitate in understanding the way individuals cope with stress. Those having positive coping strategies have a tendency to adopt constructive stress when confronted with taxing situations. It has been found that employees with high psychological capital is more apt to manage stressful situations and avoid burnout. Similarly, research has demonstrated that psychological capital can be developed with training. The research question was, would psychological capital interventions, that is PCI, be effective in alleviating occupational stress amongst medical doctors through group counseling? And the theoretical perspective was that occupational stress has been found to be the reason for a number of health-related psychological, biological, and physical issues and behavior changes amongst individuals. Psychological capital mediated the association with occupational stress and fatigue amongst Chinese physicians. The methodology employed in the present study was there was a structured questionnaire, 7 items of DAS, depression, anxiety, stress scale, 21 developed by Lovibond and Lovibond, which was used pre and post counseling sessions. Participants were selected through purposing sampling. The therapeutic plan was as there in 4 phases. Phase 1 was plans prepared to build up hope. Phase 2 was acceptance of limitations, that is developing optimism. Phase 3 was build up self-efficacy by inspiring participants. And phase 4 was benefit from effective resources and interpersonal relationships for resilience development. In this context, a number of techniques were used, including making use of the religious relation of the doctors, almost all the doctors were Muslim, with having good faith in religion. So a number of religious excerpts from Holy Quran and Hadith were used to strengthen these 4 factors. And as a result of this, the DAS score pre-intervention and the DAS score post-intervention are flashed. The scale of DAS is normal is 0 to 7, mild is 8 to 9, moderate is 10 to 12, severe is 13 to 16, and extremely severe is greater than 17. DAS is a 0 to 3 scale, 4-point Likert scale from 0 to 3. So the maximum score could be 21. As you can see, the participants, they were mostly in moderate stress scale rate with 2 or 3 having severe stress. And post-intervention, once again, the DAS was administered and the results were as flashed. As compared to moderate, it was normal or mild. This is the graphical representation of the same. Integrated data depicts the scores of respondents once prior to the application of psychological interventions and post PCI. Marked divergence between the 2 scores has been observed. A drastic decrease in the levels of occupational stress was witnessed in the response of the doctors, implying that psychological interventions proved to be effective in alleviating occupational stress amongst medical doctors through group counseling. Compared to moderate severe stress reported by doctors pre-psychological interventions, the level of stress post-psychological interventions reduced to normal by most doctors, with only 2 doctors reporting mild stress, 2 earlier reported severe stress. Thus, answering the research question that would psychological capital interventions be effective in alleviating occupational stress amongst medical doctors through group counseling. Coming over the limitation and applications, certain caveats have been observed in the process of the present study. Firstly, the efficacy of the PCA was evaluated on a limited and small sample, which suggests limited power to detect statistically significant effects.
Sir, just a reminder, you have 5 more minutes left.
I'm almost through. In order to overcome these limitations, larger trials are recommended to be conducted to replicate and determine the stability of the effect. Another limitation of the current study was that the outcomes were only examined at pre and post test. These tests results necessitate the need for additional research investigating multiple repeated assessments of the outcome, as well as using longitudinal statistical models. In addition, wider recruitment from other provinces and other ethnics would also enhance the power of our data and generalizability of our findings. These are the issues that we intend addressing in the follow-up studies. This study may be considered as one of the, if not the pioneer, then one of the studies to investigate the effect of psychological capital interventions on occupational stress amongst medical doctors in Pakistan. The findings were including that the interventions improved the levels of psychological capital, which led to consequent decrease in occupational stress symptoms. The present findings have a number of implications for clinical and public health in suggesting viable targets for the development of education campaigns and health promotion and maintaining individual health, treatment plans,
Thank you so much, sir. Your research.
Yes, we are through again. Connected now. Let me finish concluding remarks. The results of the current study provided support for the efficacy of psychological capital interventions in alleviating occupational stress. The findings support the potential value of explicitly targeting the absence of positive associated with stress. Future research using more rigorous and controlled prediction in larger samples would be required. That's all from my side.
Thank you so much. It was a really interesting topic. If the participants have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and ask that. Okay, I believe there are no questions from the participant. I request the session chair, Dr. Mumtaz, to please share his comments and suggestions with us.
Waqas, thank you very much for an interesting topic. I liked it so much. Although there were some connectivity issues, but still we managed to understand your research and your overall process of research. So thank you very much. I have some minor suggestions that maybe there's unclear why it's needed. Of course, stress is important, and stress, reducing the stress is a kind of very important factor for organizations throughout the world. But why it's in Pakistan, why you target Pakistan, and why doctors, there should be justified when you write your publication. And then what are the techniques, what other techniques are available for such interventions, since your study is a kind of experimental study where you are looking pre and post results. So I believe that that is very important that you identify that what other ways of doing these things. And then well, I believe that there are some advanced techniques for analyzing the data you have collected. But since you have a very small sample size, which you have already mentioned in your limitations that I have a small sample, so the generalizability of such a findings may be limited. Of course, I don't know the overall what's the average response rate in previous studies related to this topic. But this is, if this is in line, if your current sample is in line with past studies on average, so then it may be publishable. But I think, and the current number, in my opinion, it is a bit smart. So if you can manage to collect more samples, then it will be easier for you to publish. So that's all from my side, and thank you very much for an excellent presentation.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Dr.
you, sir. I'm really obliged.
Sorry, we couldn't really understand what you said. Could you repeat it?
Dr. Waqas, do you want to say anything?
Yes, I was just saying that I'm really obliged with your comments, and definitely would look forward to implement the suggestions and recommendations of your discourse in my future studies. So I thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, would like to move on to the second last presenter of this session. Thank you. The topic for the paper is linking ethical leadership to the well-being of higher education teachers in Pakistan, the mediating role of employee engagement. The presenter is Serish Amin Khan. Serish, if you're present and ready, you can go ahead and start your presentation. Sarish, could you please confirm if you're still here because we can't see your name in the participants list anymore. Sarish, if you're there, could you please confirm because we can't hear you and we cannot see your name in the participant list as well. We could see that a while ago, but it's not there anymore. So could you please, if it's issue with the audio, could you please at least type in the chat box? I'm so sorry for the delay. We would just like to wait for a couple of minutes in case Sarish shows up. If she doesn't, we'll move on to the next and the last presenter of the session. Dr. Said, I can see your name. Thank you so much for joining. Since our presenter is not here, we are ready for your presentation if you are.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much. Can you please repeat? Your voice was very slow.
I just said that welcome to the session and we're ready for your presentation whenever you are.
Okay, just give me 2 minutes only.
Sure, sir.
My screen is visible.
Yes, sir, it is visible now.
Okay, may I start?
Yes, sir. You can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. First of all, I must appreciate the management of the NUST University for giving us this opportunity to share our knowledge with you people. Please accept my apology for late, and there were some kind of glitches. Actually, this is the article of my student, and currently he is not over there. maybe he has some medical issues, so that's why he would not able to present. So on behalf of my students, I'm going to present. The title of our presentation is The Effect of Supply Chain Management Practices on Supply Chain Performance with the Moderating Role of Human Resource Management Glitches. Basically, the story was, as we people are familiar that due to the current pandemic, most of the businesses and the organizations, they have majorly disrupted by various kinds of glitches. So normally it has been observed that most of the organizations have stopped working. That's why this pandemic is called the job killer, because estimatedly around more than 10% in every economy, the people have lost their jobs. So the aim of this study is to know that how much jobs, how much human resource have impact our routine supply chain. The supply chain is basically flow of information, material, and finance that starts from the suppliers and end with the end users. So the aim is, if there is any problem in anywhere in the system, that will not only disrupt the core organization, but the whole system. Like we can say that when it was on very initial stage, so suddenly Pakistan stopped import from China, because there was myth that maybe this virus is being viral due to the non-living things. Actually at the very early stage. So the whole supply chain was disrupted. On the base of that problem, that the aim of this study is, we are basically want to know how much the human resource glitches impact this flow of information, material, and finance, and how much the human resource challenges impact the routine supply chain management. On the base of this problem, this study developed these two research questions. Does supply chain management practices on supply chain performance in textile sector of Pakistan? Because as we know that the textile sector of Pakistan is considered as the backbone of the country. We are basically the cotton producer country, and a few years back we heavily rely on the textile sector, but due to some we may say the economic shift or inflation rate and or some other disruptions, the textile was heavily transferred toward Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and the other country. But because of the last few year policies of the government, it has observed that our textile sector was trying to revamp, trying to groom again, trying to come back to its original stage. But currently, due to this pandemic, this is heavily impacted. So the core industry for this study is the textile. And the second research question was, does human resource management glitches significantly moderate the relationship between how much the human resource glitches impact this relationship? Because in the previous literature, it has found that they impact these supply chain performance. So how best supply chain practices the organization will have, that will ultimately boost up the performance of the of that organizations. But due to the human resource glitches, this performance will be impacted. Based on that literature, we have proposed this framework. These supply chain practices we were adopted are the information sharing, outsourcing, customer relationship management, supplier relationship management. Previously, it has been found that in the various economy, in the various demographic, these practices has a positive impact on the performance, and the human resource glitches they moderate that relationship. The research philosophy of this study is the positivism, as the aim is data generalizability and the aim is hypothesis testing. The research approach is deductive because the theory is already there. We just want to confirm, we just want to test the theory. And this is the quantitative study. We have basically adapted the survey and we used SPSS software and multiple regression to test that framework. We get the population from the textile sector, and we distribute based on the probability sampling, and we get 156 sample. These were the results. The data was initially screened by manual screening and by using various techniques like outliers, like normality, reliability. We apply all the screening processes and found that the instrument is basically valid and reliable for the testing. And this is the model summary. We have found that this relationship is significant. So on the basis on that result, we can conclude that yes, there is the management practices and organization performance, and or significantly interrupted or significantly or negatively impact that relationship. This means the organization as soon as possible need to resolve their human resource glitches, otherwise their supply chain will badly disrupted. This study will help the managers, the industry to find out that how they can resolve their issues and how they can enhance their performance by reducing the human resource glitches. Thank you very much. That was from my side. Again, I apologize for the inconvenience. If you have any question, please put forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for a very interesting presentation. I would like to open the floor for questions. If the audience have questions, please. Okay, I believe there are no questions or suggestions from the audience. I would request Dr. Mumtaz to please share his comments and suggestions with us.
Dr. Mohammed Saeed, thank you so much for an interesting presentation, and I believe that the findings of this study will be very helpful for the industry, and especially I believe that this is some sort of novel area that we really need for the research publication as well, so you can easily publish in a very good journal. However, I have a minor suggestions and that just want to put forward just so for your kind consideration if it's applicable. So you may decide on these suggestions. So one is 156 sample. In my opinion, is a very small sample size. The reason is you have 4 independent variable and then you have a 1 moderator. So if I multiply the moderator with each and every independent variable, so in total it will be the 9 independent variables in a statistical model. So for 9 variable, if I go for the G power or any other software and see the how many samples it needs, so it may be more than 200. So if possible, and if you are looking for a good publication, then the sample size to be reconsidered, and it may be 200 plus. So it will be very easy for you to publish in a very good journal. Second thing is that there must be a justification. Why 4 textile mills? I'm sure you must have, but due to time constraint, you didn't explain. So if it is already there, then no issue. But if it's currently not available, then maybe you find that why these 4 textiles, what is important in these 4 textiles, and why textile industry at the first place. So that may be helpful. And then I see that you have used SPSS, and maybe I assume that you have used pre-enhanced macro, SPSS macro. So in my opinion, such kind of models, when you run in an SPSS macro, you have to run one by one. One moderator, then second moderator, then third moderator. So in my opinion, when you run separately, then the shared variance you cannot calculate as you calculate in a structural equation modeling, where you run all the moderators simultaneously. So in my opinion, the structural equation, since I know that you are also expert in structural equation modeling in PLSM, especially partially square structural equation modeling. So I assume that you will be using structural equation modeling when you are going to publish your paper in a very good journal. So these are my humble suggestions, and I hope it will help you to revise and submit in a good journal. Thank you so much, Dr. Said.
Sir, thank you very much. I am highly obliged for these wonderful suggestions, and I will definitely incorporate all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Mumtaz, for your comments. This concludes our session today. One of the presenters was not present, and I don't see her in the participant list as of now. So we'd like to assume that she probably is not going to be presenting. I would like to thank all the participants for their research, interesting topics, and conclusions, and especially Dr. Mumtaz for taking out time reviewing the papers and presenting us with his valuable suggestions. Thank you once again, and that's it from our end. I would like to wish all of you a very good luck for your further publications. Thank you so much.